Hello and welcome to What's the Summary? Hello. PBD Podcast. PBD Podcast, episode 356, duration of 155 minutes, starring PBD, Adam, Tom, and Vinny. Stories discussed: 40% of workers don't want promotion, most Gen Z and millennials are parent dependent, Bank of America send letters to employees, print media cannot be saved, people with kids care more, Trump's 83.3 million loss, Kamala says Trump will ruin democracy, Haley's New Hampshire votes 70% non-Republican, Reid Hoffman stops donating, Greg Abbott and the border, race beta claims USA is racist. The first topic was 40% of workers don't want promotion. PBD breaks down why. He reads a Randstad work monitor report and balks at the output, which focuses on work-life balance. Tom says Gen Z and millennials are not interested in accountability. It's the managers who choose who goes. Adam says ladies find ambition attractive and your comfort zone will kill you. You're first in line for layoffs. Vinny asks when this shift happened. Adam says it's about money versus passion. It's easier to make money and come back to your passion. At 13 minutes in, they talk about the next subject, which is most Gen Z and millennials are dependent on their parents. Vinny read the report from Pure Research Centre, which revealed 54% of adults aged 18 to 34 rely on parents financially. What type of parent pays for kids at 34 years old, he asks. Adam hates millennials being confused with Gen Z, as they are now almost 40 and totally different, whereas a 22-year-old is fine living with mom. PBD says too many people are deluded on how much money they can make and have a work-life balance, but behaviour is either intended, accidental, or forced, and all these people will be forced to change eventually, and especially if they have kids. Tom loves Pat's summation. At 22 minutes in, they talk about the Bank of America. PBD reads the story that the Bank of America sends letters to employees threatening action if employees don't return to the office. Wasn't it the bank's fault in the first place, he asks? They made it harder for themselves by lowering the standards. He agrees working from home doesn't work as well as working from an office. You're also more likely to get a promotion if you're working from the office. Tom chimes in saying flowery language in the letters is ridiculous, just needs to be much more direct. Get workers back in the office and don't worry about hurting feelings. Adam takes a slightly contrary position, saying salaried people have no leverage, but commissioned people who earn lots of money for the bank can dictate their terms to some extent. At 29 minutes in, they talk about the print media, and PBD reads an article from The Hollywood Reporter which says print media is in meltdown, facing the worst crisis since 2008. Even private equity ownership can't make a difference. He looks at the company valuations, which are around 50% lower than 5 years ago. He believes they have lost their way, trying not to hurt people's feelings, and asks Tom if there is a future. Tom says they haven't managed their digital conversion or figured it out to charge a small subscription. Also, small independent writers go online and compete against them. But Harley Davidson managed it back in the day, so somebody could buy these media outlets at a good price and lead it back into profitability. Adam says it's down to truth, trust, and credibility. The three most trusted news sources are Tucker Carlson, Joe Rogan, and Bill Maher. So legacy media isn't trusted anymore. They need to evolve. Vinny agrees they need to evolve and be disrupted instead of currently being a shill or political activist. At 44 minutes in, they talk about people with kids care more, and PBD starts this story asking the team who wants more for the future, people with kids or people without kids. The response is resounding: with kids. Pat opines that Bill Maher doesn't have kids. In business, the married guys did work not just for themselves but for the wife and kids. He also asks, would you want a president that wasn't married and had no kids? He says you become a better person overnight if you have a kid. So in response to the last topic, when Bill Maher was mentioned, being the most trusted, just think on. He does not have the same attitude to the future. He believes it's a fact. People with children are better for society than those without. Tom backs him up and saying women and children first is a saying that you don't understand and have the perspective of until you've had a child yourself. Adam fully agrees with Pat, even though he doesn't have kids. He listens more to Mayer than the others, but wouldn't put weight on his opinions. Also mentioned the last president without children was James Buchanan in 1857 to 1861, and that was right before the Civil War. At 57 minutes into the podcast, PBD mentions a limited edition The Future Looks Bright merchandise dedicated to Kobe Bryant, and then breaks the news as it happened that the jury finds Trump must pay the crazy girl $83.3 million in damages. He read Trump's response that it's a political witch hunt and replays the old clip with Carol and Anderson Cooper, where she said, "Rape is sexy." Tom says 18.3 million was awarded in compensatory damages, and the 65 million on top of that is like a bonus for extreme intent. Punitive means punish. He will appeal both, and that will take around 2 years, but it wasn't good it came out like this. He points out that Carol is a serial accuser with 2 other cases, including CBS executive Les Moonves in a hotel elevator. Adam says Carol already got an award of $5 million and wrote a book called What Do We Need Men For? And that the original accusation of assault was back in the 90s. A similar playbook is being used for that of Tate and Russell Brand. Vinny says this doesn't happen for the other side and is great news for the left. PBD says it's amazing someone can accuse you of something from the 1990s and get $83 million for it. Adam says Trump took the stand, but the judge ordered the jury to disregard his testimony. The team find the situation incredible in that she deserved $65 million in punitive damages. He wasn't even accused of the rape charge. They question who the judge in the case was and look up on Google. He was appointed by Bill Clinton. They laugh at the irony. Also, the judge worked on the Virginia Giuffre and Prince Andrew case, where the case was dismissed before trial, yet Trump gets an $83 million loss. PBD says this is gangster moves. Connect the dots, there is motive and links to Epstein. Vinny plays a clip of Kamala Harris, who says Trump will weaponize the Department of Justice against her, and they laugh at the blatant hypocrisy and her current 37% approval rating. Then play the latest clip of Joe Biden's fumbling his lines and fall about laughing. At 80 minutes into the podcast, the team discussed Haley's New Hampshire votes, where 70% were non-Republican, and Reid Hoffman stops donating. PBD reads CNN's exit poll, which comes out with 70% of her voters in New Hampshire were not actually Republicans, and it's the opposite numbers for Trump. Tom says it was anything to beat Trump. Adam says it's clear she is establishment, bought and paid for. This is why Vivek tore it apart. He thinks she will only be in the race for the next 2 weeks. Vinny says shout out to the Democrats, they will stop at nothing. PBD then reads the next story that Reid Hoffman is stopping donations to Haley and that Haley is challenging the RNC to not call Trump the presumptive nominee. Tom believes the Republicans want to move forward with a candidate to start campaigning for the win, but now is the time when candidates do backroom deals to clear debts and the like. Adam quotes Trump at 62% in South Carolina, Haley's home state. He has over a 30-point lead. This is over. At 91 minutes into the podcast, they talk about the story of Greg Abbott being urged to fully militarize the Texas State Guard to counter Joe Biden. So PBD reads the letters and news around the story, plays a video of a likely terrorist at the border making threats, and identify him as a Middle Eastern Islamic terrorist. Adam wants to know why people are traveling from the Middle East to the Mexican border. Vinny gets animated because it's about 22 million people becoming voters, and that is what this is about. It's so unfair on the people of Texas, and the people in charge need to be accountable if Americans get hurt or killed, but they probably won't be. At 101 minutes into the podcast, they talk about the next story, which is Charlemagne, the god who claims America is systematically and structurally racist. Vinny reads out the story and shows a clip from Piers Morgan where Charlemagne says, where we all know America is systematically a racist country. Vinny states that he hates this attitude. You can achieve anything in America. He is divisive and is instilling victimhood. A walking, talking contradiction with a book out titled Black Privilege, the opportunity comes to those that create it. He is making money from victimhood. There are some racist people, but not as this guy portrays it. PBD talks about data and uses a clip of Morgan Freeman and Don Lemon, where Morgan says racism is being made a bigger issue than it needs to be. Pat says we need more from Morgan Freeman and less calling ourselves racist. Tom references a film that scripts the situation that people need the issue to leverage it. PBD concludes we need common sense and unity and references his recent experience on Club Random with Bill Maher. This has not aired yet, so keep an eye out for that. Bill was saying Newsom's a winner, and Pat challenged him as he had nothing to base it on except gut feel. We need data, facts, and results. Stop dividing against each other and work together. Adam says, choose who you listen to, and told Charlemagne to go fuck yourself. Finally, Vinny has released a skit on the United Airlines Fly the Skies with DEI, link in the description. So at this point, the podcast was wrapped up, so that's the end. I hope you found this useful and saved you some time. If you found anything interesting, then please visit the original content at the PBD podcast. Subscribe to stay up to date with future summaries of political news and events from the UK and USA.